I'm talking ADHD diet tips. How to eat healthy when you don't have time to eat healthy. Let's dive in. Hello all, my name is Karen, and if you're new here, big welcome. Thank you for tuning in. This is my best free content that I put out, so you're in for a treat. And if you're coming back, big welcome as well. You may notice the different backdrop. I'm trying to figure out the best lighting that still has a nice backdrop. I did not win on this spot, but it's better than my kitchen, right? Which seems to be the best lighting. We're trying to figure it out. I live in a tiny home, so you're a little limited to different rooms you can go in. Anywho. Okay, so my name is Karen, like I said, and I am the body and mind transformation coach for women with ADHD. And what that means for you is I help you and show you how, in these videos, how to absolutely thrive in your body, both physically and mentally. Because the mindset piece, although we want to ignore this, is literally the biggest part of transforming our body. It is literally the foundation, it's the glue that's going to keep all these systems I talk about, all these tips and tricks I talk about going and to make them last for the long term. Because I want for you to have the stamina, to have the energy to go on weekend hikes with friends, or to drop in on a fitness class and truly know that you can keep up, that you can do it, and well, to have the strength you had in your 20s, because that's amazing. That is what I practice, that is what I preach, so welcome. So we're talking diet tips today. This video is for you if you're like, I want to eat healthy, but I don't want to put the effort and work into it, or I don't have time, or a big thing for us, we don't have the mental space. There's so many other things we want to do. This video is for you. Because you guys, even though I'm a fitness professional for many years, expert in nutrition, I don't like cooking. I don't meal prep. I never follow recipes. Yet I eat healthy like 90% of the time. And I'm gonna tell you how I do this and what I do to make this feel really easy without taking up mental space in my life, and I'm just too lazy to put more time into it. I'm gonna kick off with what the systems formula is, then why it works, the pros and cons of it, and then finally make sure you watch the end. I'm going to tell you how to implement this into your life and next steps. All the stuff I talk about on these videos, it works, 100% works. It's worked for me for over 10 years, it's worked for clients, but it only works if you implement it. So make sure to watch the end. That's literally the bread and butter of this video. So what is this formula, this system I follow? It's a system. I talk a lot about systems. I talked about a fitness system and creating that to make exercise feel really easy to stick with it for the long term, and I'll link that video below. And we're gonna now do that for nutrition. Essentially, a system, it's like putting something, our nutrition in this case, on autopilot. It's like a set it and forget it. So we can put our priority and focus on other things that we want to in our day that are really pulling our attention, and we don't need to worry about consciously choosing to eat healthy every day. Now, systems are so phenomenal for us for a few reasons, and this is why I promote them a lot. The first one being it acts as guardrails for our brain. Or my favorite analogy, think of a bowling alley with those bumper lanes that kids have at birthday parties. Yeah, super great. Where the ball is going to bump side to side, but not go into the gutter until, obviously, it hits all the pins at the end of the bowling alley. So like a system, it lets our brain go like side to side, where we can, let our brain be creative, let our brain do the amazing things it wants to do without going down the rabbit hole, without getting derailed, without falling off track. Hey, Luna. And it allows us to come back to where our focus is, so we can get our strike every day, so we can stay on the bandwagon for our working out, so we can eat healthy every day without it feeling like a task or a chore. The second reason I promote systems and why they work so well is that it leads us to a more intuitive approach. I follow systems with fitness, with nutrition, but I'm always advocating eventually to move into an intuitive approach that feels good for you. But before we can do that, we need some sort of basis to calibrate this intuitive eating off of, or intuitive movement off of. And by having a system, it allows us to build trust with ourselves. Because when I told you, go and eat intuitively, you are going to second guess yourself. You're going to overthink it. You're going to go down the rabbit hole. It's not going to work. I'm sorry, it's not. But when you start with a system, it builds trust in yourself because you're following that system every day really easily. And it's telling your brain, oh, I did this yesterday, I'm doing it again. And I can do this again. And I'm doing it again and again. And it literally creates these neural pathways that you're like, I can do this. I totally can do this. 100% can do this. And then over time, you can trust yourself to have that more intuitive approach. Okay, so system, creating a system. What does this look like for nutrition exactly? Well, there's 2 different systems that have worked so well for clients. I've even heard through just talking with friends who have ADHD, this works for them and has worked for me phenomenally for many years. And the first one is a macro-based approach. The second one is intermittent fasting. So why are these 2 different systems the ones I choose? Well, big thing is they both lead to intuitive eating really well, or really nicely, I should say. They both are rooted in a system, but with so much flexibility that you can literally eat whatever you want. We're not restricting that. And it gives you the knowledge of what you're eating, what works for your body, so you can start to feel into your body like, okay, I ate that made me feel good, or oh, I ate this and I had tons of energy and that just worked really well for the timing within my day and it was a really easy meal to create. Like, it gives you that feedback so you can start to create your own intuitive eating plan. The second reason I choose a macro-based or intermittent fasting approach is that they're like plug-and-play systems. You don't need a lot of knowledge. You don't need to go down the rabbit hole. You can literally just implement the system within minutes, to be honest, and follow it, which makes it just really accessible for everyone. Now, a little note here. Following a nutrition system like these 2 approaches is not disordered eating. And now, yes, it can lead to disordered eating, and people with disordered eating or a history of that may, when they follow these approaches, it may start to trigger them, 100%. But following a system can still be a very conscious, intuitive eating approach, what I want for you. However, through any of this, if you're triggered by this or you start this type of eating and you feel like this is bringing up feelings or mannerisms of disordered eating, I encourage you to talk with a professional who specializes in that and to find an approach that works for you. So let's get into the details of these systems and what they are. So macro-based eating. This means that we're going to track macronutrients throughout the day for your certain allotted amount. Macronutrients make up food. They are protein, fat, and carbs. All food is made up of 1, 2, or all 3 of those things. If it's not made up of any of those, then you're either eating air or drinking water. Yes. So everything includes those macronutrients. Micronutrients you've probably also heard of. That also makes up food, but we're not going to worry about those right now for macro-based eating. This means you'd have a certain amount of protein grams, carb grams, and fat grams in a day that you need to essentially ingest through food. For example, chicken breast, that's going to be protein. If you had some veggies, those are carbs. If you have some rice, that's carbs. If you have some peanut butter, that's primarily fat with a bit of protein, bit of carbs. So every food is made up of different amounts. You can eat whatever you want as long as you hit those macro targets at the end of the day. This is a great way to lead to intuitive eating because you start to learn what makes up food. And it empowers you to make choices that are going to fuel you, make you feel good without, mindlessly snacking. Or what a lot of people struggle with is not eating. And then you realize, whoa, I didn't eat anything today because I still have all of these macros to eat up. The other reason I love it, it lets you press pause on your impulses before you start to eat. Because you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to write down what I'm going to have, put my macros in to make sure it's a balanced meal before I open the fridge and start pulling out random food and impulse eating. Because let's be honest, the fridge, it's like Netflix. You open it and you're like, wow, there's so many options in here. So I feel like I could have all of this today. I could have a little bit of everything. And then I just start pulling out all the food that I want to eat. Just like Netflix, you just keep scrolling, think of all the movies and TV shows you can watch. And you watch like 5 seconds of each. And I'm like, 2 hours later, I still haven't chosen a show. That's like eating. I get it. So, macro-based approach lets you pause your brain, choose really intentionally what you want to eat, and make a delicious meal that's going to serve you. Intermittent fasting. This is when you have a window of time that you consume food, such as between 12 to 8 p.m. And then the rest of the day, the other 16 hours, you would fast or not eat. This is really good if you like to follow simple systems and don't really want to have to plan, because it does not require much thought. You're just eating between these windows of time. You're not thinking of like how many macros you want to have for this meal and next meal. This is also good if the idea of tracking is overwhelming for you. Now, the one thing about intermittent fasting that I don't always like is that you may end up eating too much at one meal, that it can be really hard on your gut and digestion. And you may still end up eating more calories in the day than is optimal for you if you're looking to lose weight, or vice versa. You may not eat enough if your goal is to gain weight. So it does take some more cognitive approach if you want to eat healthy, choosing healthy foods, because you don't have those macro numbers to help guide you. So this is also recommended if you already have a good idea of what makes up food and what's going to be good for you and support your healthy eating goals. Now, this is also really good for gut health if you eat, moderate-sized meals through your eating window, because then you're fasting for a long period of time, usually minimum 16 hours, which is so good for letting your gut just rest and digest. And our gut health is linked to so many important functions in our body. Finally, it can really promote fat burning because of the longer duration between your eating period or your eating window. However, macro-based counting also really good for gut health because you're being more mindful of when you're eating, having full meals, hopefully, versus just mindlessly snacking. And can also still be good for fat burning because if you're waiting long enough between meals, you're going to tap into those fat stores. So again, depends on how you end up implementing it. To figure out what system is best for you, ask yourself these few questions. Number 1, you have no problem tracking things. Number 2, having an eating window feels restrictive and scary. Number 3, you struggle with eating enough or gaining weight, as in you struggle with gaining weight. And number 4, you like to know the why behind things. If you answered yes to all of those, or 3 out of 4 of those, then macro-based eating is best for you. If you answered no to the majority of those, then the best one is probably intermittent fasting. But you won't know for sure until you try it. So let's go into how to implement these. With anything, I always tell people that implement whatever system you choose for minimum 2 weeks. Because you can do anything for 14 days. I know you can. Plus, look at it as an experiment. You don't know till you try. Implement for 2 weeks, see how you feel, see how it goes, and then you can always course correct from there. If you're choosing macro-based tracking to implement, first you need to determine your macros. There are tons of online calculators, and it depends on what your goals are. I'll give you a rough idea based on the goals of wanting to gain some strength and either losing a bit of weight or just maintaining your weight. So I usually use a split of 40 to 50% of your total calories coming from carbs, about 25 to 30% total calories coming from fat, and about, 30% total calories coming from protein. From that percent split, match your weight in pounds to the grams of protein, and then work backwards using those percentages to figure out your carbs and your fat. If you're implementing intermittent fasting, I recommend starting with the 8 and 16 framework, where you're fasting for 16 hours and then eating for 8 hours. So set your window of eating wherever feels best for you. And then you can shorten that eating window as you see fit, or there's also different kind of formats you can follow, and happy to guide you in that too if you want to post a comment below. That's where you're going to start, and you're going to stick to it for 2 weeks. Now the big part is implementing it, and I want to hold you accountable. So comment below with your favorite food emoji if you're committing to either of these systems, or maybe your own system, for a minimum of 2 weeks. Remember, don't change anything, don't second guess anything until those 2 weeks are up. Now if you're still feeling overwhelmed, confused, even second guessing navigating your nutrition system, or just really want to skyrocket your results, really make eating healthy easy, really navigate the fitness landscape, so yeah, you can have the strength you had in your 20s, then I encourage you to click the link below for my fitness identity course with the details on how to apply, because we spend the whole module 3 of just 2 weeks on nutrition, finding your nutrition system, myself guiding you through it and making sure that it works for you and you're sticking to it and having it feel really easy, along with so many other amazing modules which gets you to your best, fittest, strongest self, along with the mindset piece, which is the underlying foundation. So I encourage you, click below for details and to apply and to book a call to see if it is a fit for you. And it's only if you're truly ready to make a change. If it's not a priority, then it's probably not for you right now. Okay guys, I will see you all next time. Make sure you subscribe, link below, not just for my ego, but you help other women with ADHD find this content, and this may really speak to them. It could be literally the information, the thing that they're looking for and searching for. And also, I have follow along workouts, full body ADHD friendly workouts, and you'll get notified when I post those. Okay, see you next time.